Hello and welcome back, friends. We're glad you've joined us. This is Ridgeview's video podcast, where we try to cover everything hope, healing, and recovery related. We're always pleased to gain new subscribers and members, so please don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell. We always like to draw your attention to our COVID helpline number at the beginning and the end of the broadcast. It is 833-503-0348. And that is available from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Sunday with trained counselors that are available to help you deal with what you're going through as we are all impacted by COVID-19. My guest today, oh my gosh, hold me back. My dear old friend, Andrew Lufkin. Man, it's good to see you again.
Likewise, man. It's good to see you.
I knew, I could invite you over here. It wouldn't work. I could try to coerce you to come to Ride for Hope. It wouldn't work. But if I could get you to come talk about what you're doing with pets and animals, I stood a chance.
There you go. That is correct. That would be in my busy schedule.
And you are here, and I'm overjoyed. So I'm also really glad that you still have those golden locks of yours that just, it's awesome, man.
Thanks. It's really more of a lifestyle than a haircut.
For people listening to this and not watching it, Andrew has just the magnificent Robert Plant head of hair. I just would aspire to.
That's awful. Stop that.
Okay, man. Let's. So first, tell me a little bit about what you're doing, where you're doing it at UT Vet School. Right?
Yeah, I'm at the UT CVM College of Vet Med, as part of the social work college in the vet school. So we're in a host setting sort of situation. So I meet with students, I meet with clients of the CVM, I meet with random people who find our phone number and need to talk about the loss of a pet. I talk to students a lot, faculty, staff, anybody that's feeling stressed out can come talk to me. But we do sort of also have a larger portion of macro stuff going on with certificates and programs like that. But I don't have nearly the wherewithal in my career right now to do that. I help out when I can, but it's a much bigger project.
So is this now a new component offered within the vet school, or has this always been?
It's been around for a while. The vet school program has been around for 19 years now, or the Veterinary Social Work program. And so the certificate program has come up through that. It has grown over the past couple of years because we've added a human support certificate. So the Veterinary Social Work certificate is for sort of your behavioral health, mental health minded people that want to be more involved in the veterinary community, whether that's pet loss, grief, that sort of stuff, helping people talk about the stresses of being a veterinarian, because that's a really big thing. And then there's the part where you do help the community with those pet losses, resources, financial aid, all of that sort of stuff too.
Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and get this out of the way because I know it's going to come up at some point, but we just need to just dive right in so that if I do end up crying, then I can get it over with and we can conclude on a happy note.
Sounds good.
So you mentioned pet grief or grief of losing a pet and the hardships that vets go through or people that work in the veterinary school. So I think I shared with you when we were lining this up, and we're just 3 weeks removed now from, and I see this picture here, and it looks like it's a dachshund. So my wife and I recently, 3 weeks ago, had to put to rest our dearly beloved 15-year-old dachshund that grew up with the family as our kids grew up. They left to go off to college. Then Oscar Meyer Wiener dog.
Fantastic
I mean, we are.
Fantastic name.
Is that? It took a lot of time to figure that one out.
That is amazing.
Should we call him Meyer or Oscar? So, we knew it was coming. Mm-hmm. I was taken aback by how profound the loss was. And I don't know if it was because it was the final chapter of now being empty nesters.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting through it. Life goes on. But I have found myself thinking about that vet who was in the room with us, who was providing the injection. And I thought, my gosh, if she has to go through that multiple times a day, because we had come undone.
Right.
I mean, like alligator, boohoo stuff.
Yeah.
Hold on, no. So, I mean, is that the kind of thing that you would help vets deal with and do, the helping families usher their beloved pet onto the hereafter?
That is part of it. And part of it is when you have those issues like you're talking about where you can't just get over those humps sometimes. There's a lot that goes into the grief of losing a pet. I often talk about it as it's a lot of stuff rolled up into that one word. And so there's a lot of pressure on that word for you to deal with it. Where in fact it's a whole bunch of stuff in your life going on, like going home to an empty house now. Like that's an emotional wave that you're kind of expecting to go through every day, and that's stressful. And that kind of stuff. And then there's also like the progression within your house. Like, what are you doing? Have you done anything with the bed, the toys? Are you doing something instead of feeding the dog twice a day? There's lots of stuff. There's lots of minute details that sometimes we take for granted, I think, that come galloping back with tremendous force when you lose that pet and they're not there anymore.
Yeah. I like the way you put that.
Yeah.
Galloping force. Because there have been these, ghosts. These,
echoes.
Yeah, echoes. The bowl, the bed, the mats that we would leave out when we would leave the house.
Right.
The list goes on and on. But, okay, so tell me a little bit about why are pets so therapeutic to us as the human condition? Why do they mean so much to us?
They do a lot for us without actually doing a lot. Especially wiener dogs. I had a couple growing up myself, and they are notoriously good for burrowing into blankets when you're snuggling and that sort of stuff. So there's a lot that goes into a relationship with an animal. No matter what animal it is, you are accepting responsibility for another person. Like another thing is depending on you. We like that as humans. We like when we're needed, you know. But it goes well beyond just that relationship. Like there's the coming home to that purpose, and there's the ritual. There's a lot of that the pet needs this, so I have to get up and go do things. So it makes you more active. There's a lot in that routine that, like I said, we don't often think about. But all of those things come together to form this bond between you and an animal. And it's constantly getting added to. Like if you go through stressful events when they're a puppy, or one day they get off the leash, or one day you come home and the door's cracked open and your cat has escaped. I mean, there's all these like, and you go closer and closer because you want to care for that animal so much. And they're like, bring it on. I'm here for you.
Yeah, I used to make fun of when the kids were younger and Oscar was younger. Yeah. I would open up the door when I got home and I would say, who can top the dog? Because the dog was the only one that was overjoyed at my coming home.
Okay.
So who can top the dog? No,
right.
Of course, no one could. They're
Gotcha.
like, yeah, Dad. Put your keys up, go about your business.
Right.
I've noticed, like, I get home and those rituals that you mentioned of first thing I let them out. I'm still opening the door, like waiting for the dog to come click, 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 click across the hardwood floor to go out. Well, I mean, it's clear. I mean, you mentioned some of the therapeutic benefits there. Have you noticed or have you read, in the midst of a pandemic, how much more pets may have meant to people when they've been messaged social distancing, sometimes quarantining, isolation. I mean, it has to have only magnified the importance and therapeutic benefit that people found in their pets.
100%. I think that you talk about that isolation piece. That's one of the things that, like, coming here, I was like, that is certainly something. When you go home and that house isn't empty, there's great benefit in that all over the place. And so during a pandemic, when we're being told, don't go here, don't go there, it's safer to be home. So you feel sort of trapped, but you have that pet who's like, okay, you're in this with me. Like, we're going to dig down and get through this kind of thing. Like, you have camaraderie in that. Gives you a lot of strength, goes into a lot of resilience, that sort of stuff.
I just had a guest on, Anna Harness. If you've not seen that episode yet, please check it out. But I asked her, you're in the position she's in, the field she's in, how does she take care of herself? And one of the things that she listed was, I have two dogs, and I just enjoy petting them, spending time with them. That was one of the things that she mentioned about taking care of herself.
Yeah.
You mentioned resilience. I noticed that on one of these from Human Animal Bond Research Institute. Pets address social isolation and loneliness and facilitate healing and resiliency. Man, that is definitely something everyone is craving, is some more healing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's not a lot of work to do that, right? Like, I have a 14-and-a-half-year-old lab at home, and when I have stressful days, I will go bury my face in her fur, and everything is fine. There's such a hormone connection, and so it goes beyond that, just that physical touch. But that's something that a lot of people don't connect with when they lose an animal, like how strong that connection is because of the physical presence. A lot of what we rely on pets for is to do with our mental health, not so much our physical health, right? But the way we communicate with them, we talk to them, we pet them, we scratch behind their ears, and we know they like that.
Your voice starts to change a little bit like that.
Right? Yeah. Well, maybe. But all that goes on without a lot of effort on our part. So there's that great benefit of, little effort, great reward.
Now, do you caution? There's lovers would be at risk of the rebound effect once they've broken up with their partner. So, do you caution Ruth and I to be on guard for the rebound effect? We sort of made this pledge that we need to allow proper grieving time to take place.
Definitely. But the thing about making a plan for that is that you don't have a lot of control over it, right? It's time is the main thing there. So I don't think I would warn you against it. It totally depends on you all. I could see there being a lot of benefit in another thing in the house sort of situation, because you are empty nesters, like you said. But it's something you want to rush, right? And so there's things you can do to kind of avoid the pressure of making those two separate entities into one in your brain, such as if you're into a different breed, or if you get a bigger dog, you're not going to have as much connection on that same pathway that has already been set up over the how long 12 years you said? 15 years. Okay. So that whole time, you're asking yourself to think about all of that time in the moments after you've had this loss, right? So that takes some time to be okay, I got to process all of this. This is a lot to process.
Yeah.
So there's always that pressure, if we get the same sort of animal, am I going to start, hating this one because it's not the other one that I want so badly and I'm missing so badly? That's the main thing you have to watch out for. As long as you're not having that overlap, then you should be okay. But again, open communication with each other is great in that scenario.
So Ruth and I need to talk. Yeah. Okay. So,
Ruth.
so once again, somehow I've been able to turn a podcast into a discussion all about me. And but this has been very helpful.
Yeah.
I've really
Yeah.
I feel better already. I hope
Good.
you're not going to charge me for this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just a couple of other real quick questions. If someone you host like support groups for bereaved pet owners, is
Correct.
that right?
Yeah.
So if someone were interested in tapping into that, how do they enroll?
They can go to we have a website, which is Vet Social Work. So VET Social Work, all one thing, .utk.edu. And all of our information's on there. There is a little box to the right that says help during COVID-19. And one of those links says grief packets. So that's our main resource for anyone who's going through that process, who has contacted us in any manner. It's what we give clients when they're talking about losing the pet, quality of life discussions, that sort of thing. And it's full of resources, pet loss books, grief books in general, how to talk to your kids about pet loss, that sort of stuff. And then there's also the memorialization aspect of pets, and resources therein. There's a lot of therapy that goes into memorializing your pet correctly and how you see fit for what they were to you. So that can go a long way. And there's always creative resources or creative ways to do that. We had our summit last year, a lot of veterinary and social worker people getting together. And we had a talk about, memorialization. And one of the things we talked about was this lady said, part of having my cat was coming home and having that purpose of feeding, medicating, taking care of, that sort of thing. So when she passed away, I was like, that is completely missing from my life. So she took the collar and put it around a pot and had a plant in memorialization to the animal, so that routine stayed the same, sort of thing. So, there's always different ways to look at things of that nature.
I wonder if Oscar's collar would fit around my neck.
I don't think that's
So, last question.
Okay.
You've been very patient. As I asked all the guests, you do hard work. The work is hard, and you're working hard. You get this compounded, hard, difficult stuff. So, what are you doing these days to take care of yourself, Andrew?
Anything I can, I'm actually going hiking this weekend. That is a big thing. I have not done that in a year, and a lot has happened in that year. The pandemic, graduating from my master's program, finding a new job, all that sort of stuff. So it has definitely been a year where I have felt more self-care needs for myself than ever. My biggest therapy ever is basketball. And one of the things that I sent you in information for this is Dan Siegel's mindfulness platter. And one thing in that is there's these 7 parts of mental nutrients that your brain needs. And there's playtime, sleep time, connect time, end time. I'm missing a couple. Physical time. Downtime. Imagine that. The social worker forgets the downtime. And so the idea is the more of those you can have in a certain activity, or the more you can have them in your daily life, you will be better off mental capacity wise. And so the idea of basketball, as an example, is physical time. It's connect time because I'm playing with other people. It's that focus time because I'm focused on the actions which I'm doing. Basketball is complicated sometimes. It's the play time. And so it's not sleep time and not downtime, which happens immediately after you play basketball, right? So it's an activity that I found to be very therapeutic. However, as soon as the pandemic hit, top 10 list of what you shouldn't do, basketball is number 3. I was like, okay. So it has been an adjustment for me, taking all the stresses of graduating during a pandemic, finding a new job, getting used to the stress that is involved in that job. And so to have gone through a year of that, and having to do everything telehealth, telefriend style, I am excited about the prospects of warmer weather, getting out to hike more, spend more time in the yard with my daughter, my wife, doing landscaping, mowing. I've always kind of found therapy in that. But also, going fishing, spending time on the water, getting away from all of the electronics.
Naming and identifying things that you derive enjoyment from and doing those. So that's good advice for all of us. I hope you'll come back and we can talk about your beloved Tar Heels.
No.
And my beloved Wolverines. Okay. And who's tracking in what direction. But that will just a teaser for a future episode. Man, it's great to have you.
It's been great to be here.
Ridgeview family has missed you. It's glad to have you back on our grounds.
Definitely. Good to be here.
We're happy for what you're doing. You're clearly making a big difference and following that blissful call. So thanks for being here.
No problem. Anytime.
And thanks for tuning in, friends. We're glad you took a little extra time to be with us today. Please subscribe, ring the bell so that you get notification of our next episode. As always, we want to give out our helpline number, 833-503-0348, and we'll put the link to the information that Andrew presented in our comments section for this episode. Take good care. We'll see you next week.